Hello everyone, it's Pete and Grada here from the Purple House answering your questions Thursday night. We had a couple of questions. One was, what's the difference between the different salts, Himalayan salt, and would Tasmanian or Tasman sea salt be good? It'd probably have the same minerals and trace minerals in, but the reason why we go with Himalayan salt really is because it's from an ancient seabed that doesn't have today's pollutants in. Like today's sea is full of pollutants. We don't know how much microplastic is floating around within the water. There's islands of plastic in some parts of the ocean, and they would be in the Tasman Sea as well, I'm sure.
Because I ground down into tiny little microscopic plastic grains of plastic that looks like sand.
They'd be microscopic even, and they are hormone endocrine disruptors, hormone disruptors. Mm-hmm. The other reason why I recommend Himalayan salt to today's sea salt is of any sea is because of the Fukushima disaster that happened how many years ago now? It's
in Japan.
It's
the nuclear disaster.
Quite a few years ago, and it's been spewing out just as much radiation today as it has been when the disaster first happened. So that radiation is just being
spilling over into the oceans.
Spilling out, and it was only 3 to 4 weeks after that disaster that radiation was detected south of New Zealand. And one of the radiation is cesium, the other one is radioactive iodine that's being spilled out into the ocean, and that's circulated around the world I don't know how many times now. So that's
undermining our immune system.
It certainly is, but if we don't get any iodine either and fill our thyroid and our body with iodine, then we'll be getting that radiation. We'll be absorbing it from that radioactive iodine that's been gushing out into our ocean for years now. And if our thyroid's not full of iodine, we'll be taking that up in our thyroid, and it'll be causing thyroid cancer. That's why the Japanese raced around soon after that disaster and gave everyone iodine tablets.
And in Russia too, after the Chernobyl disaster. And those people, they didn't get cancer, as opposed to people who weren't protected from iodine, with iodine.
So that's why we need at least 10 drops of iodine a day, really, to give our thyroid adequate iodine, plus every cell of the body needs iodine. But back to that salt, we've had people come to us with lack of energy, dehydration. I had one man come to me one time and I told him he was totally dehydrated. And he said to me, how do you know when you're dehydrated? I said, well, how are you when you come home from work? And he said, I drag myself in through the door, and he said, I just haven't got the energy to get up and go out and feed my animals. He had a small farm as well. And he started hydrating and having Himalayan salt. So he had a litre of water for every 30 kilograms of body weight, and then a quarter teaspoon of Himalayan salt for every litre of water he drank. And the chaps at his work were asking him what the heck he was doing. He had all the energy under the sun. He said, when I saw him a month or two later, he said he can bound in through his door at the end of the day and has heaps of energy to do all his farm work, and he said he doesn't feel like going to bed then until 10 o'clock, but before he was just had it. So that's minerals and trace minerals and hydration, the most important part of health. And we've had people with high blood pressure, we've had people with low blood pressure. And contrary to what people are told about high blood pressure, Himalayan salt with adequate water, the same recipe, a quarter teaspoon for every litre of water drunk, and a litre of water for every 30 kilograms of body weight, that will reduce blood pressures. It will also increase low blood pressures.
So it normalizes it, it stabilizes
Normalises and stabilises. And it's, it is the bottom rung on the ladder of health.
It's a foundation, you can't skip it.
If you think you'll get better with vitamins and you haven't got minerals and trace minerals on board and enough adequate water, you're wasting your money on vitamins because they just won't work unless you've got that basis. So I've covered why we use Himalayan rather than today's sea salt. I thought Celtic salt was from a rock salt as well, but then I discovered it was gathered from the sea just outside the Mediterranean in the Atlantic, and it's one of the busiest sea highways for boats that there is, so it'd be full of pollutants.
And when Peter says pollutants, one of the worst pollutants other than radioactivity are the heavy metals like mercury and cadmium and arsenic.
There'd be petrochemical
and
things.
All sorts of. It's just a really, really toxic cocktail, I'm afraid now.
And have a guess where all those ships throw their waste into the water. It all goes in to make a toxic soup. The Mediterranean, if ever you've been over to the Mediterranean, it looks beautiful. Beautiful blue water around the coastline, but it's one of the most toxic waters around. So
with Himalayan salt, just explain where that comes from.
Himalayan salt comes from an old seabed, ancient seabed, at the foothills of the Himalayas. So it doesn't have today's toxic pollutants in.
No, you go back into history when you take it, really.
So
we're just very fortunate that we have it today.
The question was, is it sustainable? Well, I'd say there's probably, if it was from an ancient seabed, it'd be
under the Himalayan mountains.
Very extensive.
Yeah.
Very extensive. So there'd be a lot there, I'm sure. Hopefully we might clean up our waterways and we'll be able to have today's sea salt. That'd be a good thing. Yeah. Really good thing.
I guess we have to start with little steps, don't we?
And people are cleaning up waterways and cleaning plastics out of the sea, but at the moment it's probably not a good option.
No, because the plastics will go into your gut and into every part of your body, really.
Yeah.
The microscopic plastic particles, because nobody really knows yet how that's going to turn out.
No.
Because studies haven't really been done on that. So, then the other thing I was going to say, because when you sweat a lot, so like if you have a partner or a husband who works in the mining industry and they are sweating a lot, they need a lot more water and a lot more salt. They absolutely need to have it. 1 or 2 teaspoons of Himalayan salt per day. Yep. Otherwise,
some of those guys,
your husband's literally dissolving.
Yeah, some of those guys drink 6 litres of water a day, so they'd need 1.5 teaspoonfuls of salt.
That's right. We had a guy who came to us after he'd collapsed on the mainland, and he was flown back to Tassie. He was like, all his internal organs had basically collapsed on him and he was dying, and the reason was extreme mineral deficiency. So he slowly had to build up his mineral content in his body and then just keep taking the salt. So it's crazy that we see those cases, isn't it, Pete? And then if you're somebody who doesn't sweat, like my mom was one of those people, she never sweated, so she never like had a BO or whatever you call it. She just didn't.
Body odor.
She didn't sweat. She was actually really proud of it that she didn't. But that means you're iodine deficient.
Yeah, your thyroid's not functioning properly. And
Yeah.
that brings us to the next question, sweating. It was whether infrared saunas were a good thing or not for detoxing. And yeah, they make you sweat. And we do release toxins out through the skin. So if our liver is overworked, that's our main way of that our body will detoxify itself is through the liver. If that's overworked and underpaid, then yeah, sure, saunas are a good thing. They make you sweat, but again, you need to drink and have your salt because you
need to drink extra then and
extra,
have extra salt water.
And that way you'll get toxins being released out through the skin. If you don't have enough salt and you get in a sauna or even under a hot shower, people have fainted because their blood pressures have dropped due to not having enough minerals and trace minerals in their system.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting distracted here with our cats who are all frisky because
they have their salt water. They have their
no, they like mucking around near our feet, wanting our attention. Yeah, so water and salt is absolutely the cheapest medicine, the most profound results, and you just have to do it, right? It's simple as that.
So some people don't like their salt in the water, and I personally just make sure I have mine with my meals, with my food. I drink my water, just plain water, and then have my salt with my meals.
Or you can put salt on your tongue, and that's nice too, and then you just swallow water afterwards. Your water will taste really, really nice. And actually putting salt on your tongue will immediately stop an allergic reaction. So salt is really amazing for your body. The word celery actually comes from the word salt and worth your salt and all that sort of thing. Because in the past, long before we had money, people traded.
They knew the worth of salt.
Well, that's right.
They were
salt was like
paid in salt. Yep.
And there was also a form of torture in the Middle Ages where they... I come from Holland, so we had to study how people tortured each other in the Middle Ages. Thank goodness.
They withheld salt, did it?
Well, one form of torture was they had to be in a cell and they above the kitchen or something, and so they could smell all the delicious smells, and they weren't given any salt till they died. And people actually died a horrible, horrible death from that, because after air and water, which are the two main things that keep us alive, we need salt, and we can't live without salt for very long. I think it's not much longer than a month, probably, something like that. So
they conduct the electrical current around our body, so it's really important.
Great for your hormones too. In fact, super important for your hormones. Yeah. So I think that probably concludes today's session because we're trying to be short and sharp.
Short and sharp, and it's those few things: salt, water, iodine, will give you a really good start with improving your health
and then
energy levels and everything.
Something else sprang to mind. When people are on stomach antacids, so that's the most sold drug over the counter is antacids like Nexium, what else, Losec or something.
That stop the hydrochloric acid production in the stomach.
That's right. So that makes you totally mineral deficient.
Yeah.
So we always recommend get off your antacids because that's not really the problem. The problem is that you haven't got enough stomach acid. The problem is definitely not that you have too much. It's the exact opposite. And the reason in the first place why your stomach burns is because you haven't got enough minerals in your body to make good levels of stomach acid. So get off your antacid, so tell people to get off it, and then your digestion fires up again and start having your salt. So I had a client who came in a few weeks ago, and that person was taking, statin drugs for cholesterol, which we don't like. That's my pet hate. That's my absolute pet hate. Next to him is probably my second biggest pet hate. And then also that person was on blood pressure tablets and a whole range of other things. So we just simplified that person's regime and said, start drinking lots and lots of water with lots of salt. Make sure you have lots of water, I think 4 liters a day, because because that person was something like 110 kilos, lots of salt and magnesium and a few other supplements for digestion. And the results were good. The digestion cranked back up, blood pressure went down, and the spark was like, what do you call it? She was full of spark again, so that was great.
One person just messaged in here, it's helped her irregular heartbeat. So that's what it does. It conducts the electrical current, so the heart can conduct the electrical current better. We're like a battery, so if we drink distilled water with no minerals and trace minerals, we won't start.
And also the heart is a potassium-driven organ, and it's swimming in a sea of sodium, so it's an island of potassium swimming in a sea of sodium, and that creates the heartbeat. So you need good levels of sodium and potassium, and that's all found in Himalayan salt, which is so great. We love it, we believe in it. And if you have pets, it's also good to put salt in their water. So if you're worried about it, just create 2 bowls, 1 bowl without salt and 1 bowl of water with salt, and just allow your pet to drink, to choose for themselves.
And if you if you grow your own veggies, that's saying, the cat's gone crazy. If you grow your own veggies, and that same solution of a 1/4 teaspoon per litre of water grows excellent vegetables as well.
You chuck it on the ground, in other words.
Or you spray it on your vegetables.
Yeah.
So
and so salt on the tongue stops an asthma attack as well. And a salt inhaler, which we sell in the clinic, is really great too. So you inhale the salt into your lungs, or salt air, and it relaxes everything. It's fantastic.
People who work in salt mines don't get respiratory problems, so it's really good this time of year with the winter chest things happening. Get the salt into you, and even breathe it in as well.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Good.
See you, Jane and Elizabeth. I saw lots of names, but now I've forgotten. But I didn't want to butt in because I've been told I've been butting in too much.
By people who are watching, actually.
I know. So I hope you give me 5 stars for not butting in tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed this.
Thanks for watching.
Have a good rest.
Give us your questions for next week.
Stay warm.
Have a good week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.